I'm not saying to get rid of anything, I'm saying that some clarifications and, I know that we want bullet, things, but when we're talking about the business of the council, I just think it's in fairness. If some certain things are gonna be brought up that are gonna bring criticism of the council, and yet there were things that were brought up that were concerns for the city as a whole, I think those should be put in our meeting minutes. We had this discussion a little bit when we talked about having the recordings being our public record. And we've established these are our public record.
Correct.
So because these are council meeting minutes, it is the prerogative of the council to have the minutes reflect what we feel is important as well. And so that's what I'm saying.
Well, since the clerk is the one taking the minutes, it really is her duty to gather the information that she feels is pertinent in any conversation.
Well,
And unless there's an action that needs to be taken, I'm not sure that needs to be addressed verbatim. I mean, we could go back to there was discussion, and technically that's how most of the places are done.
which we've done, and which.
Right. Yeah, no, we're attempting to kind of move this way. We're just.
But it's just interesting, you're not doing that fairly across the board here, in my opinion. And again, these are our matters
That's
for.
your choice, right?
But for example, if you talk about wanting to have just, action minutes or just say discussion happen, well, we're not doing that. I can think of several times in here where we go through and there's long discussions or attention given to members of the audience, but there is not necessarily to concerns that we're raised or that other people in the community. For when Amy Carzanata, her letter that came in, just was said there was a letter. No mention of what it was about or anything. And I know people have asked for that and they're still waiting to get that letter. There's others, there's a time Carl Weber sent in a letter having to do with the building a couple of years ago. And again, we just mentioned we sent it in. Mandy Prince sent in, or she had a statement, and it was just said that she had a statement. Yet here, it is mentioned in specifics, the concern. So I just think that, yes, the clerk she does a great job going through these, but these are done on behalf of the council. And I feel there are some things that need to be included in there, questions that were asked and things that were raised. I think the airport discussion was important, and having record of that, what we asked about whether or not people need to be licensed out there or not, about the profit margin out there, about how long it'll take. I think that's important to have, especially when we go back, if we have to have more bonds or more grants.
Okay, so if I don't really get to vote, I'm just trying to voice the counselor, my opinion and her. So if you need a motion, if you would like to make a motion to do this stuff, and so do it, we'll have a vote.
Well, unless somebody wants to approve these as they are, I would motion that that these be redone and some of the things that I brought up be added.
I would second that.
Okay. Any discussion at this point?
Yeah, I would agree that there's clear policy when you're discussing, when citizens are coming up and talking to council members, talking to the council, that they're not supposed to select out any one of them and attack them, no matter who it is. I think that's clearly the policy of procedures, and you've talked about it yourself, that you're supposed to monitor that and not let that go on. That was totally inappropriate.
Okay, so that's your second. You seconded the motion. If in consultation with the attorney after the meeting, I says, was I out of line? And he says, absolutely not. To have 3 minutes is their 3 minutes to do with, and as long as it was not vulgar, not the language is appropriate, then you get, that was actually fairly calming to what's going on in different communities around the country. Okay, I mean, just to say that this is a situation and that there should be maybe some thought about the future, then I don't think that is over that line. And like I say, in consultation with the attorney, he says, no, that's well within that 3-minute comment period.
Well, I have a question. I mean, it's an election time period right now. And what was said was a negative towards Dave.
Mhm.
That's illegal.
Okay, so we are now discussing the motion. Is there any more discussion concerning the motion? And Eliza, are you kind of clear on are you kind of know what she wants to adjust in the minutes? By her
I will
motion?
have to go back and re-listen, and I took as many details as I could, but there are that, so I have to go back.
Okay, all right. So seeing no further discussion,
Well, Roy, I'd just like to say, I don't think it's asking a whole lot. I'm sure Eliza's very capable of doing that, just to kind of elongate on some of these things that were said.
well,
And,
Go ahead,
just
I'm sorry.
because it was requested.
certainly,
you know.
the greasy slippery slope we get into is when we start interpreting what we think somebody meant versus what was actually said.
Right, but we're not saying, we're just saying.
Well, there
the
was
words.
that, I believe Shelley at one point said that's not what he meant. That
Oh.
maybe it's what he said, but that's not what he meant.
Okay.
So if, we can't expect the clerk to know what he meant to say
Of
or
course
what they
not,
were
no,
thinking, right?
no.
And without me having this in front of me right now, or without any of us having this in front of us, right, we don't know if indeed what she says is accurate. Not disputing you,
No,
but we don't know that.
but then that's why we say discussion happens. If
Right,
we're placed, but the other things that I said are a matter of, facts and numbers and questions that were asked, and I think those are fair.
All right.
And so I think to solve the problem in Pete's case was just the phrase.
Okay,
I'm a little confused on this whole thing. Our policy procedures clearly state, as we stated, when a person from a citizen speaks, he's
Well,
not supposed to attack individual members. Now,
I don't,
Jennifer suggested that, said that's how it should be. She helped put it together. So I disagree with our attorney.
okay, so Ms. Martin, this is nothing to concern with that. What this is concerned with is the discussion on the motion as to whether we should do this or not. But that's for another time. At this point,
I disagree with that.
we have a motion. We have a motion on the floor. Okay? Everyone in favor of Shelley's amendments, adjustments to the October 20th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I believe it's 7-0. Okay. All right. So we'll have to get together and figure out what exactly those adjustments are, and then we will maybe bring this back up.
We look at it
Right.
at the next meeting. and
Right.
approve them.
Okay, all right. Okay, so at this point, we'll approve the October 23rd special council meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion? This was
I motion that we approve the 23rd.
Century West, this was happening.
Okay.
Dan moved it, March seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. At this point, go to public comments from the audience. Let me remind you, we're at 3 minutes. I will let you know at 2:45. Please keep your comments respectful and respectful. Yeah.
So before I read this statement that I wrote earlier today, Sherry, I'd like you to give me the code that I violated with talking to Dave, or to Dave, at the last meeting, if you would please.
I
Okay, this
will-
is not a conversation.
Okay, I will look.
Please give me that code.
I will.
So to address Pete's point of order after the last time I spoke at a meeting, during my 3 minutes, you cannot restrict what I say as long as I'm not being disruptive. To restrict my speech is a violation of the First Amendment to the Constitution and goes against the Open Public Meetings Act. I suggest you read the Open Public Meetings Act. I read it twice today. And I do not have to follow policies set out by the City Council. Those are for you to follow. At a meeting a few months back, I, unrecognized, stated that the reason for the meeting was because of the council. The way I said it made it sound like my statement was directed at a specific council member. That, Sherry, you might remember that. At the next meeting, I iterated that my statement was meant to be a collective view, not specifically at any one person. It was directed at the council as a whole, and it didn't come across as that. As a matter of fact, the member that took my statement as directed at her, Sherry, you weren't even on the council when the matter that was being discussed, unionization, was any of that stuff occurred. So you weren't really even a part of the council when those things happened. Lastly, to address the bullying that gets brought up from time to time, bullying is when a 6th grader pushes a 3rd grader down and takes their lunch money. In this chamber, when council members or the mayor is addressed by a resident, it is not bullying, but rather criticism. Since you have put yourselves into the position of a public servant on this council, you should be open to this criticism or leave the council.
Thank you. Anybody else have any comments? 3 minutes at this point. Okay, we'll move on. Okay, community group updates. Okay, we got nothing? Perfect. Tax levy hearing, resolution 25-07, man.
Okay, so you will see before you, there are 2 copies of resolution 2507. One of them is to keep the levy amount from the previous year the same, and one of them is to increase it by 1%. So I thought it would be helpful for you to know what levies have been in the last number of years. So the levy amount currently is $73,902.40. To increase it by 1% would be to increase it by $739. So for 2025, obviously it's $73,902.40. For 2024, was $73,170.40. For 2023 was $73,170.40. For 2022 was $77,048.23. For 2021 was $78,230.95. For 2020 was $75,000 even. And for the years preceding that, it hovered between $75,000 and $80,000. So hopefully that's helpful to you, just for historical, where things have been.
Okay. So we are by law giving you the power, the right to increase by 1% per year. That's where that $700 figure comes in, without approval of the voters. This is legislative. There's been some talk in the legislature. There's been some pressure, how's that, to the legislature to remove this 1%, but up until then, that's what our obligation is. Now, we've not taken this 1% since I can remember. I'm not sure we've ever taken this 1% increase.
Until last year, because it was much lower.
Right. So this is up to the council at this point. Whatever you, I mean, like I said, it means a $700.
So I'm just not, this comes out of people's taxes.
Yes,
So this is our property taxes.
yes.
So
It is.
it'd be an additional $739
Yes,
Per house.
per household, and so that is approximately
It's a lot.
$2 per household more per year.
Not 700 per house.
Okay.
Yeah,
Per
it's for the whole
whole year.
city, is what that is.
So each house will pay about $2 more a year.
Slightly less, yeah, on average.
And the increase last year helped catch us up a little bit. You said that it was getting really low.
Yeah, it was creeping downward, so, this year we're just under 74,000. I mean, when I talked to the auditor, we actually, because Tekoa has not taken their 1% increase, generally speaking, we have actually like a $25,000
Slush fund.
amount
Yeah.
that we could increase it by if there were need, kind of thing. So that tells you how long it's been hovering around $75,000 or $80,000. It's a long time, that it's not been increased much. So,
Explain this, I guess I don't get, why is there a slush fund?
well, if you don't increase it, the county keeps track of how many times you've not increased it. And when I spoke to the auditor this last time, she said Tekoa had about $25,000 we could actually increase our tax base by, or tax ask by, if we wanted to do that. And it's because we don't take the 1%.
But this is only adding $739 to our overall
Right,
budget.
right, we're not trying to do that, take advantage of any of that amount, but the city could at some point if it was needed do that. But I guess the material point is that property taxes in Tekoa have not increased for a very long time, because whether you have 400 households or 800 households, it just depends on how much the city's asking on. It doesn't change. It just changes the percentages that people pay, but not the overall amount. Like if you add a whole bunch of people or what have you. I hope that's
So I'm okay with 1%.
And this goes in the general fund.
This goes into the general fund.
Now, explain to me again, where's the $2 at? What's $2?
$2 a house, that's,
So if you take the 1% increase, it's a little less than $2 per household a year on average increase. And it would put us still under $75,000 for next year.
In a perfect world, how much should we go up? How much would be allowed to go up if we want? If we were in a crisis state, how much could we legally go up?
We could go up about $25,000 a year. So,
And so does that mean, okay, so we'll just say it's $20,000 on 400 houses. Does that mean that is all taken out in 1 year, or has this money's already been taken out?
then they would have to start assessing that.
So this could be, if we wanted to receive the 25, it would be a sufficient hit.
It would, yes, there would be a big hit.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So, but I think that, I know that the council has typically not wanted to raise property taxes much, but you really can't afford to have them come down either. Because it's not,
Nothing's getting us.
right, it's not the only income source, but it's an important one.
so next year we could raise it to 2%?
No, you could only do another 1%, or we'd have to look into the process for asking for part of that difference between what we ask for and what we could ask for.
Okay.
Unless it's an emergent request or we need the funds, I see that the 1% is gonna help us a bunch, and there's no reason to ask for more right now. We can always go back and do that. And less than $2 a household, I know, it puts some strain on people, but we also have to consider that the city needs to say at the point where we're not going backwards.
Well, I'm okay with it.
You'd be interested to know what the percentage of towns that take this or cities that take this. I think most of them take it. It's a standard. I think, I've looked in the Gazette, you'll see like Colfax takes theirs every year.
Most of them take it every year
Yeah.
because once they put the 1% cap on the property tax increases, that is a very significant handicap to a lot of municipalities, so
Right.
most of them take it.
Just, okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the 1% property tax.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll say.
Mike second. Any discussion?
Well, personally, I just kind of have feel challenged to do that. I really get why we would want to, but looking at what we're gonna have to raise the sewer rates, possibly some reason that the water rates soon, and every piece of paper that's come in our house is an increase of some kind of late. So I can only imagine, so I at this time, I'm hesitant myself to support this at this time. Although I'm conflicted, I understand why we would want to.
Gotcha. Any more discussion at this point?
Yeah, this goes into pretty much the general fund.
Yes.
So if this goes into the general fund, then the water and sewer can go to the water and sewer fund.
Okay, any more discussion? Proceed to the vote. All those in favor,
And
I'm gonna go around. Dan,
No.
you're gonna vote no. March, no.
Yes.
Yes.
2-2, 3-2,
No.
4-2.
Let's see, no.
5-2, motion fails. Okay. All right. Unfinished business, union contract, renewal.
Negotiations continuing. So all we can say at this point, still working on it. Hopefully have something more.
Okay, B, Century West wastewater facilities plan.
Nobody's here.
No, it's just to update people
Where
where things
we're at.
are with that.
Okay, we met Thursday, was it Mike?
yeah, those
Yeah.
are,
Thursday. Mike and I, Dave, Stephen was there. 2 people from three people from ecology. Matt was there from Century West. I think that was it. It was a full room. Lots of discussion. The ecology is very aware of our situation. They are monitoring it. They are, the conversation went to the point, are we locked into this year? And we are not. There's nothing that holds us, that we had to have it done by the 31st. They all understand that a good product is better than the product on time. So at this point, we are, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah, and added to the conversation that with Century West, we'll kind of go through and finish up what they contracted to do. And then that way we're not pushing anybody or whatever, and let them finish or redo the contract or the book, the report. And then they'll be paid accordingly. And then after that, we can decide which direction we want to go.
The other thing that the people from DOE were pretty adamant about is the fact that they would rather see us come in with a request with a project that's up and ready to go, rather than have one that's still tentative. And it has to do with how they fund things. If we come in tentatively, they kind of have to hold that money. If we come on with a project ready to go, it's going to be easier for us to get the funding and not worry about it. They've also said that we have until June of 2027 on our current permitting to make a decision. And I think the consensus of the group was we put our decision back for 1 year. And the other, I guess it's a side note, but that gives us another year of collecting funds to put in the bank. And we're not losing our place in line, we're not losing anything, we're gaining time, and they prefer to see a project ready to go as to us guessing on what we want and having to change it. So that's what the meeting came with. It was a great meeting, a lot of good information.
In the long term, if there's no government money, then everything's up in the air anyways.
Yeah,
And
it's
so it's a
still
good
nice.
thing for us to hold this off, finish with Century West, get that done with, and then go on to where we feel comfortable with it.
So Roy, I saw you and asked you about it, and you said that Century West, what they did, that's our product, right?
Yes.
And it's all, so it's like if we decide to go with a different consulting firm or something, we have that to take with us.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if you're planning to do that, but
Right.
it's whatever we do, that's ours.
At this point, yes, at this point, the idea and the conversation with Matt Friday, he is on board with this. He's going to be our representative in the planning phase of this.
And another thing that's kind of nice about it is when we get the final product done, and we do decide to go with a different engineer or whatever, we have still the opportunity to change whatever fits our needs. So we don't have to go by this report. We can change it. We can add to, delete,
We
or
put a lot of money into this. I sure hope they're gonna give us a report that we can
Yeah,
use.
that's,
So I feel like we will, but
We're gonna find out, aren't we?
it's up there.
You know, it's, I believe tentatively, they're hoping for as earlier March or in April, planning where this is done.
And I think that overall, that Stephen will be able to work with them and with that, updating it and everything else, and getting what we want and then what he would like to see. I think getting all that added in there will help us out.
And Century West will be down on the 7th, is that right? Which is that Friday? Yeah, they're,
So have they contacted you or Stephen yet?
not since we set up the date. But they're gonna come down and look at the plan. And I told them to bring big boots, high boots.
Okay.
So, and that's willing to work with us and be our representative. And it's not, we talked some dollars of what he thought and it's way doable for us. Okay, I'll just leave it at that because.
will we eventually be presented with a contract for Matt, or will that be after we're done with
Well,
Century West, or?
If I remember right, in the conversation with Matt and Liza, maybe you could make sure I'm accurate on this, but it's gotta go out to bid.
Well,
We've got qualifications, right?
so there's this thing called the Skipple report, and it basically asks, where are we in the grand scheme? Because we're part of these rural systems that their Department of Ecology is keeping an eyeball on. And we had to have that turned in by this last week. And we told them that we were planning on making progress on this in the next 12 months. So if this report from Century West is brought up to speed and this council is able to make a decision, then if that happens by June, we're actually not even behind for funding because we've told them what we're doing. It doesn't mean we have to, but it means that if we're ready and the council decides what they want to do, then we could possibly go into the design phase as early as July of next year. It just depends on where we are, but there's not pressure to be there. It's just, we could possibly still just be in line for that. To answer the question that you were asking, I put in a question to one of the main people who handles the Skipple reports and would it be better for Tico to add that representative fees for Matt to the facilities plan side of things, and in which case it would be 50% loan, 50% forgivable loan? Would it be better to put that into the design part, which we could? And the other option is that could just be paid for out of sewer reserves, which might be an okay thing to do because it's not a huge amount of money. And by the time you add money to a 30-year, well, this isn't a 30-year because this one I think is only 5, to a 5-year loan, you're still paying more than whatever it would have been. So when the time comes, you will all have to make that decision, what you want to do. But I know that she'll come back to us with some options.
So we don't have to have a contract to have that involved at this point.
And at that point, this has to go out to other,
Oh, well, we will put out a call, I'm sorry,
Right,
I didn't
that's-
understand what you're talking about, statements of qualification, yes. We'll put out a call for statements of qualification. So we'll see what we get back from other people who might want to do that.
he's just not a slam dunk.
So other people have an offer.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, statements of qualification are a little bit different because you're not going on a dollar amount. You're going with who you think represents what you need the best. It's different than a plan or a design project. So.
Okay. Lot there. Okay.
Can I just add a little, and I think that when Shelley was talking about adding a little bit more detail to the thing, I think that if you add a little bit more detail of what is going on, especially with the sewer plant, that would help the community out a little bit better. Just throw it out.
Answering that 7 pages of questions.
I know, but boy, this is an
Well, I'm
important thing.
thinking at some point that probably there'd be a letter that would come Roy that would kind of highlight that more. When we know. So I just like to say that, but even though they've given us a year, right, we're, Century West is looking at having something to us in the next few months, and that's what we want to do.
Yes.
I like when Eliza's saying maybe we could be up and going by the summer. That, I think as a council, that's what we want to do. I think people, we're getting really weary of not knowing, all of us are, and people in town too. I think that it's important for us to make some decisions as soon as the better.
I understand completely. Okay, new business. Code enforcement. Is there something that I
Well,
know?
I put that on there because I've been asked, a few times about, and I heard and talked to Mike one day, well, actually 2 different times. Is he able to write tickets or not, or what's the deal?
He is, in fact, the very day that you emailed me later that afternoon, we got our huge box of ticket things. So we had run out of them. It had been such a long time since the city ordered them, because you have to order them through a particular state agency, that we didn't even have an account there anymore. So, sorry, it took a long time to figure out what to do. And then it took them several months to get them to us once we did make the order. But now we have thousands of tickets. Not that I expect. But anyway, they're here, and so the answer is yes, he can write them again. So,
And again, and Roy brought this up before, I just really think it would be helpful if we had monthly or every other month a report, whether it's Mike is here or whether it's you, but just, if just, you know, if we got 10 calls about dogs, we got on Facebook and talked to people about moving their cars, but I think people would like to know what they're paying for, with code enforcement and issues, and also just for Mike to, you know, I think it's been helpful the times he's gotten out and he could either use the newsletter, I think he's chosen to use some of the Facebook pages to just say, hey, it's that time of year, I'm looking at yards, or it's that time of year people need to, one time he was something about everybody parking on the correct side of the street. I just think regular things like that would be really helpful.
Just out of curiosity, are you allowed, now that the tickets are on, are you allowed to write tickets out?
You gotta be kidding me.
Because before the mayor,
They didn't have any.
because John did.
Impact.
I think he got.
They're not.
Yeah, I think he had the back of a phone bill.
Exactly, they're not enforced.
I just throw that out.
Think a lot.
Yeah, okay. All right, car loan, 25-08.
okay, so this is just the formal resolution for the loan that you all looked at and approved a couple times now. So the important part of it is that, you know, the total amount is $42,314.66 for the loan. And the terms for repaying it are 20 years of repayment in annual payments of $2,648.98, beginning 11/1/26, so about a year from now.
So the airport fees will cover that, right?
The fuel sales,
Pardon?
fuel sales.
Yeah.
We're still sustainable.
Yeah.
In fact, I got some good news tonight, where our fuel sales have gone up quite a bit here in the last month or so.
But it should bring in more business though,
That's
theoretically.
Yeah, and like I said before, it's gonna bring in more gas sales, because we're gonna have a nice modern pump that works when they stop. And we're not spending $3,000 or $2,000 on fixing the old one. And then we start to grow, and it's part of the long-term plan for more hangar space. I still get phone calls, guys looking for hangars from as far away as Tri-Cities and Colville. So we're gonna be able to grow the airport. It's just a matter of doing it in steps that DOT will fund, so we don't have a lot of outgo on our part. So we're gonna grow, it's gonna get better. I'm also working with DOT, this is just a side subject. They're doing a study on what ground lease fees are, like ours are 15 to 17 cents a square foot. So when I get that information, we'll know where everybody else is, or if we need to look at maybe a 1 or 2 cent a square foot increase, so that's coming down the pipe, and that will increase our airport revenues again.
So when is this gonna come in, this install?
We've already ordered the parts, and they're gonna be here in 12 weeks.
Okay.
Oh, gotta wait for it to get really cold. huh?
Yeah. They're a little slow on getting, they don't stock the parts, but, we've talked to them and they ordered them, I think 2 weeks ago. And they figured 12 weeks for delivery.
Could be faster.
Should be faster, we don't know, but, it's a great thing for the airport, I think.
Yeah.
It's gonna help our sales. And I look at it this way, eventually we're gonna be able to put a vehicle out there and people are gonna be able to come to town, stop by fuel and say, hey, you know, we've got an airport vehicle, let's go to town and have a hamburger, let's go look and see what's going on in town. And we're working on a method now where those keys would be available only to pilots. Whether it's like triggering lights where they have a code in their transmitter, they hit the code, that unlocks the key box. But those are just things as part of the growth that helps the city and everybody else around here. Our airport is pretty simple. Other than I've said it before, other than Phelps Field at Pullman, there's nobody around that sells fuel. And we're selling probably, I don't know, 25, 30 cents a gallon cheaper than everybody else. So we're attracting that business. So it's a win-win for the city.
So is it a commercial area?
Pardon me?
Is it a commercial area then?
No.
So
It's
it's
still
owned by the
considered a
city,
small general airport.
but it's owned by the city.
Yeah. It's city property and, well, the land originally was donated back in 1945 to us.
You said something about Phelps Field?
Phelps Field in Spokane,
They have nobody there?
well, the guys don't want to fly in there for fuel
Ah.
because of congestion, and the same thing with Spokane, and we're only, 15 minutes out of their way to come down here and buy fuel. It's cheaper for them, and they don't have to worry about getting in a landing pattern or whatever. They fly in, they can fuel up, and they can leave.
So who determines the price?
We do.
Okay,
Right now, it's $6.31 a gallon,
and that's cheaper than Phelps?
and we're making 75 cents a gallon.
That's where the difference is. Most of them are a buck.
You don't deliver that stuff, do you?
No, we don't now.
How can it be that much cheaper than theirs? How can it be that much cheaper than theirs?
I don't know.
Well, we only fill up once or twice a year, so it depends on when we fill up.
Ah,
So if we have a good price, it's gonna carry for longer than the big airports, because they're, whatever it is, when they fill up, is what, that plus their overhead margin.
okay, that's-
I think this got set up when we got the money for the card reader from the port. And they penciled it in, they wanted paybacks at, I believe, 75 cents a gallon as we pumped it out. And at that point, we were a buck. And I think so then, once we paid it off, I think we left it at that 75. So, Mike, a question, we've been shut down for a month. And our fuel sales have gone up. Maybe we ought to shut it all the time.
The other thing I can think of is once we open the airport up, we got a mad rush of people sitting and waiting patiently.
Seems odd. Did they get the patch done?
I have not heard, Alex got a hold of me and they were still selling this, trying to figure out how they can get out there what they need to do.
Okay.
There's a couple of machines available, but the people that have them don't want to let us use them and rent them to us, so we're still researching that. It'll be
Okay.
done, but, it's kind of in an out of the way spot and it's not gonna affect what's going on out there.
Mike, can I throw out a thought to you? It might be a little contrary to what you're thinking about the airport and stuff, but I mean, I think what you've done up there is great and all that, but when we talk about something that right now is, I guess it's paying for itself. But we've got a lot of money invested out there. And so when you talked last time about, within a few years, 3 to 5 years, that maybe it would be bringing in profit. I really think that's great. And I think the sooner we do that, I think it's a lot to ask for the town to support something that is so costly that doesn't really bring revenue into the town.
So-
And so if it continues and it becomes that, I think that's great. And so that's why I feel like in the future, I will be more cautious about wanting to put more money out there until we really know.
Well,
That
right
it's
now,
gonna
the airport's
benefit
not
the town.
costing the city anything.
You know, it just seems strange to have something that is really, so that people from Lewiston and other places can come and gas up, but they're not putting dollars other than that here, and all that gas is doing is paying for a loan we took out to pay for the,
We're
for
still
the
gonna have a little
tank.
bit, we still got our ground lease rentals.
Yeah. And I'm not arguing, I'm not trying to,
No, I'm just saying
I'm just really wanting to say, I think it's valid. to-
Well, I appreciate
to
that, but-
you know.
The airport is not costing the city of Tekoa any money right now. And I don't foresee where that will happen. And the more that we can develop it out there, we're looking at bringing in businesses, hopefully. I'm working with a couple of people on that. And then that revenue will come forth.
Yeah. And I'm saying that's a good thing, and but we did have to pay for the match, right, for that, the
That
original,
funding,
so,
yeah, we put that into the budget 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
ago.
so we did, so our taxpayers are paying.
But we'll get it back.
Yeah, okay. So, thanks for listening. So,
So you need a motion to make,
Yes.
I make a motion that we get the card.
What about lights?
We're still working on that. I got some information today from MRSC and I gotta go through it and read it. Talking to Stephen, we're gonna do some checking to make sure we do need a permit. Depending on which side of the fence you sit on, yes, we do or no, we don't. The state statutes are so unclear. When you, as an employee of an employer, are doing the work, it's okay. But I think we're gonna err on the safe side. We're gonna go ahead and get the permits. The permit just involves pulling some wire. Other than that, all we're doing is replacing light bulbs, and we've got some bad wire we need to change. So we're still working on it. I haven't had a chance to talk to Stephen, and it's up to him and the mayor what the schedule is out there. That's kind of a backdoor project.
Okay. Got a motion on,
I make a motion that we accept the cost of the card reader.
Second,
moved and seconded, any more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
He abstains, gotcha. All right, C, equipment rentals and financial policy.
Oh, I guess that was me. I asked Eliza, when I asked last time about the rentals, that $3,000 rental, so discussion came up, and I asked what the threshold was of what we can, what you guys can spend without coming to the council. So, do we know what that is?
So I did look in that, so my little report that said financial report on it is not for the city of Tekoa. It apparently was for a model. The city of Tekoa does not have a financial policy. So as things stand right now, as long as it's in the budget, there's no cap on what the mayor can authorize. So we need a financial policy.
That's it. Okay, so there could be a lot of things that have been bought and stuff that we might not know about.
So you see check registers
Right,
and
and right.
every month, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so, but yeah, right.
Which I was gonna ask, I think it'd be great if we could have the credit card statement too included in what we look at. And I guess I could bring that up later, but I know it helps to have that.
With the registry.
Yeah, with the register, just so we understand and then that might help us formulate when we get to that financial policy of what's reasonable, you know. I'm sure MRSC has some guidance on that, because I know that, it seems like I've had a discussion with them once, and I remember talking to Jennifer Robinson, but I can't remember the number that she had suggested. In fact, I had thought we would put that in one of our policies for a grant writing. Okay.
I think there are several publications by the state auditor's office to help formulate financial policies.
Yeah,
Can
this,
you grab one of those?
Yeah, I can.
It'd make it a lot easier, because they got it spelled out.
So could we put that on our next agenda? Discuss that. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, we'll steal one from somebody else, huh?
I have one.
Yeah.
I think it's just important that since the council is responsible for approving all of these expenditures, that we have some policy, as you suggested, Eliza, and that's a good idea. Have some limit, we'd probably approve it, but it'd be good to have some reasonable limit so that it goes by the council for it's purchased or for it's rented. So we're on the same
The
page.
magic number is like $5,000, I would think, in that line, but anyway.
Yeah.
You guys gotta understand that Stephen maybe talked to me 2 or 3 months before this actually ever happened and asked me in a conversation with Eliza and I, if we have it in our budget, that on this certain project, he's gonna need to rent something. And by doing, also, he's gonna use this in another project. He used this on like 3 different projects. And so wanted to know if it was in the budget, and Eliza, we looked, we assured it was in the budget. So this might happen 3 months before he actually pulled the trigger and got it. So yes, forgive me that I did not bring this up at the time that said this is what happened. But it's not all out money, because it does say wear and tear on our rigs. And for what he was working on, there was a situation where he had to pivot and dump, and I mean, it was a specific need, and we're fortunate that we got somebody that's got the skills to run this stuff, and that knows about this stuff and the capabilities of it.
It makes good sense. It's just when the council knows, as you already know, that we feel part of it, and so we're aware of it, and we're on top of it. And then when somebody asks us, what about this? We go like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it'd be helpful. And by the way, that sealer, for all the crack sealer.
Yeah.
You guys did a nice job. You guys, is that something else rented? Because that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's Stephen's pulled the trigger on that one, and says he'd like to try it and see. I mean, we saw painting we've done in the past and how it's already starting to crack.
Mhm.
And we all know it's a good idea to do it. And interesting, I drive a bus occasionally, and down at Pullman, if you know where to look, they've got smiley faces written in the middle of the roads. And I just drove by and I looked down, and here's this smiley face written in this tar. And that's okay. But no, I mean, we hope it's the next process, because this was gonna have to be done upon a seal coat or anything else that was gonna go back on top anyway.
Was it just Stephen and Jeff did that, or
Third body came in,
so we hired somebody else to come in?
Andy came in, and I'm sorry, he wasn't available.
Ashley was.
Ashley wasn't available.
Oh, so we still have money for summer help? Is it
Yeah.
extra funds and things?
It was 2 days worth for everybody.
So was that up on where we're doing where was it done at?
All over. Go ahead.
So we have to do the crack sealing in order to get stroke seal funds except for next
Yeah.
year. So we're using a reasonable amount of our repair and maintenance budget this fall without exhausting it, because there's gonna still be more things. And then the rest of the crack sealing will go to next spring.
Yeah,
So
so I just kind of wondered, because I haven't driven around, but I just wondered what streets, so I
Yeah,
want to see what it looks like compared to what.
I think
Hinkle
Steve-
got a bunch,
I
Warner
think-
got some. Warner.
Warren got some.
Yeah, I think we applied for those streets in that part of town for maintenance for this year, but we did not get the funds this year, so we applied for them for next year.
Yeah.
So,
See what that looks like compared to the old way that you used to do it, that we do it.
The old way. All right, okay. Golf course.
That was me again. So I had a whole different person come and ask me again about the golf course, and I guess there is a discussion out there, people talking about, there's a strong belief that council or 1 or 2 of the council members are wanting to get rid of the golf course or turn it over to sell it at some point for private. So I don't know about that or not, but I know that I asked you about it before, because I think somebody had heard you bring it up, and I just think that we need to really look at the golf course. I think the golf course would be something we really should consider putting money into. It was brought, I think Brad or somebody came to us and mentioned about, really bringing more revenue, and I think we should see how to do it. But when I look at something that brings in revenue to the town, I think it's the golf course. I mean, I hardly drive by and not see somebody out there using it. Now, whether we should be charging them more, probably because they're all coming down because they can't get on other courses, or we're not charging them, I don't know. I know with my son-in-law, he was over there, over here, and he was really impressed, and people helped him, and he thought, he actually gave more money than what was being asked, because he so appreciated being able to use it. But also, like I've asked around, like at the antique shop and other places, people from the golf, when they're out there, they stop by and they spend money here. They're at C&D's, they go to the store, and eventually if we get a car or something out at the airport, we'll have that same thing happening out there. But so I know that he has worked and kind of run into, needing to get Jared and the board and stuff kind of more motivated. Roy, at one point I asked you something that we could work on together to generate, other than all the things that we've kind of worked through this last year and stuff. What's something we could do? You mentioned the economy, trying to help businesses and stuff. So I just wonder if we could make this a priority in the upcoming year. I know we've got to hit for our budget and look at that, but I don't know what it would take is working with getting that port money, that grant or whatever, working with Jared, working with whatever needs to be done up there. But I guess I just wanted to publicly state that if there are some people wanting to sell the golf course, it's not all of the council. And I'd like to propose that we try to work on this and figure out a direction for the golf course and how we can support them. Would that be of interest to you?
Yeah, sure. So, and I'm gonna go out on a ledge here because I don't know all the facts for certain, okay? But Harrington's got an 18-hole golf course, okay? And Harrington, the last time I was through there, they were, they were struggling to get any identity as to what, they're a long ways away from a lot of stuff.
Right.
And they have stumbled into a deal where they've got some bed and breakfast going on, they've got some Airbnbs and whatever. And the people on the west side of the state have found this place. And they'll come over and they'll bring their wives over, and now there's businesses, pop-up businesses that are starting around town that are taking advantage of these guys coming over, and they're bringing their wives with them and turning them loose downtown with the credit card. And I missed my chance to go over this year. The guy told me about it, and I was going to go over it. It didn't happen to work out, but I think that's a pretty cool opportunity, and I think with some, I don't know, cohesiveness, with some direction, I don't think this is beyond what is in our, and it wouldn't just affect us, it would affect the surrounding towns. And,
Does Harrington own it? Does the city of Harrington or town of Harrington own it?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I virtually sure. Yeah, and that's a nice golf course. They've been there for a long time.
And Colfax owns theirs too, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's not accounting for us.
I think, because my kids use that golf course all the time, and they like it because it's a short one.
Which one?
This one here.
This one.
And they can zip right in and zip right out, so they really like this golf course. So I think, going on what Shelley said, talking to other people, I think maybe we need to look at it in the budget coming up. So start investing in upgrading the golf course and see what needs to be done. New building or remodel the building, but I think investing in it for the city would bring a return.
So whatever happened to, you were on the, whatever
Well,
happened.
we were working on that, and then it was slow, nothing was really happening, and I suggested that if Roy had any other ideas, and then we got started on that, and then the port came up and they did an evaluation, and there's a 3-year plan, and the next stumbling block was get bids on the exterior and the windows and the on and on. And Roy, are you aware of any changes in that situation?
No, there's been conversations with Vista, and I mean,
We just can't, I mean, people are willing to, I was telling Jared and the board, people are willing, a number of them, to use grants, but you gotta have bids, and you gotta know where they start. And to give a grant, you gotta know what the expenses are. And so that's been the real problem, to get somebody to come down and give you an accurate bid, unless you wanna do a cost plus thing, and that's so tough. I know there was some discussion, early on, we discussed it in the council, that Jared thought that might make sense, and some of the board members did too, to level it and start over, and that's always nice. But we were talking 300,000 or 400,000, and Colfax ended up at 750,000 on their building, which isn't all that fancy. It's nice, but it's not all that fancy. And so the port indicated that that was a great idea, but they're not willing to put that kind of money into it. They'll help us improve it, remodel it, so that it can be a product people would come on and use and generate interest in someone, what Roy's saying. It might be nice if people come in, use it, encourage more people to come. That's really a great idea of what we're talking about, if we could do that. So that would be a catalyst to get something else going. But it could be remodel exterior and interior for, I think we're talking, well, it's an estimation, 150,000 would go a ways. All depends on how much you want to do, but I think it could be improved so it'd look a lot better. It's had very little done to it, except some years ago when the kitchen was sort of redone. But very little, and it's a pretty spectacular golf course that's being taken care of. It's got a lot of potential, but more could be done, and that's what kind of where we are.
all right,
So maybe our .09 grant this next year,
all right,
if we have a match, so
yeah,
more discussion.
yeah.
Now, Rod, I'll ask, I'm not aware of anything. Are you aware of any movement to try to interest people trying to want to sell the golf course? Are you aware of anything official? People are always talking about how to have revenue, but I'm not aware of anything either. I felt that we'd make a motion because I think the council pretty much is positive about maintaining ownership of the golf course and improving the clubhouse. I think that's where we are. It's got huge potential, and your comment about potential of the golf courses, that's really a great idea, actually. It has some.
Yeah, I think it was an accurate story, but I don't think I dreamed that, but yeah. So, yeah, I had a conversation with a kid from down there, and he was driving me down to see what was going on. And it's not that far, in fact, it's not that far away. So,
No.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's sure you kind of potentially a little niche, you get something going,
Yeah,
and then it starts, and Leavenworth can tell you about that. When that all started, we all know that was a crummy little town, not crummy. It was a little town with a few gas stations in it and a few stores, and those guys got started, and the guys that first got started, the businesses didn't like it. And in fact, they brought running those guys out of town, then they found out when he started, they brought a lot of people in. And then the rest of it is, now you go in there like, oh, it's just.
yeah, they would really like their town back.
Yeah, some of them would.
They really would. I mean, because you can't afford to live there and work there.
That's true, you can. That's exactly, I knew a guy who.
That's not what we're talking about.
No, no.
Just what-
But that's,
Well, that'd be a nice problem to try to have.
wouldn't it be though?
Okay, late fees for those affected by federal shutdowns?
That was me too. I was talking to somebody in our town, and it just occurred to me that, I don't know how many, I know that at least one, probably a handful of people in Tekoa may be affected by the furloughs, they're put on furlough, and I'm just wondering if I'd like a motion that we waive any late fees for anyone who is put on furlough if we can. Yes.
I did ask Eric about that, and he said that if we were going to do that, you can't do it like this. The city has to come up with a policy, because there's a couple of guidelines that you have to keep in mind. One is the city cannot lend its credit, and we cannot give public funds. So you can waive late fees, but you have to do a few things. it has to have a purpose for, behind public health or a public purpose. It has to be a charitable exemption for people either being poor or in a hardship situation. And the city needs to have a policy with guidelines, what kind of documentation we would require, and that would need to be in an ordinance. That said, we do have payment plans. And if somebody is affected by the furloughs and they come in and make a payment plan, we do not have to charge them late fees while they are working that out.
Okay.
So that is a great alternative without having to change the ordinance.
So so they just need to come and,
Just
is
talk
there
to
a
us.
way to
Just call,
communicate that in
just
our?
call.
But I mean, is there a way to communicate
We
that to
could
people?
post it.
Because
We could
hopefully this will
post it.
end soon,
Right, but in the meantime, yeah.
but it's long enough now that there's probably, I know one family that's probably in that situation, they're trying to figure out how they're gonna pay
Figure it out.
their bill and, then you get it back and then just like catching up on the late fee on top of that just seems like a real kick in the.
Right. So if well, if you know them personally, of course,
I
you
will
can pass
contact
that on. But we could just post something.
Put it on the reader board.
Well, I was trying to figure out how to put something on the reader board that's meaningful with those small amount of characters, but we could post it at the post office. We could probably put something in the library. It's likely to catch young families.
Sure.
And maybe at the bank, and that way we can catch most of the people who.
I mean, do we have an idea? I mean, maybe it's just one family,
I-
I don't know.
I can't imagine we have more than 2, maybe 3 in the whole community, but that still, if people know about it and they need it, it's good to have it.
That could be provided to anybody. It doesn't, not.
Right, right.
That's true.
It's a great thing for
Yeah.
just anybody, not for.
Okay, so if anybody, if they have a payment plan, if they come in and work that.
That's right,
Okay.
as long as they're not already
Yeah,
passed.
right, I'm sure
Yeah,
there's.
but even if they are, it could avoid late fees for as many months as it takes them to work out the payment plan, which can be up to like 10 months, so there's that.
Okay, well then that takes care of that.
Yeah,
No
that's a lot better than, a lot
So-
simpler than an ordinance, for sure.
Yes,
So anybody out there in TV land, if you know somebody that's in this situation, get a hold of City Hall. How's that?
Okay, sounds good.
Is that maybe, yeah. Better than
You
reading.
sound like Mr. Rogers there.
Yeah, well, I tried not to. Okay, here we go. Announcements and reports. Are we here already? Stephen, I'm gonna let you come up on staff reports first, okay? Which is where we want to insert my consent.
So, I was meaning to bring this to you guys earlier, but, I've just been busy doing other things, so I didn't get to sit down and do a report until now. So this is a report from Public Works Department. This reads, in the past, says 3 months, but a couple of months, because I think it's been longer than 3. Public Works has been doing the following, including and in addition to normal operations. We have received 2 of the watertight manholes so far. We've installed those. We're waiting on shipment for the other ones from HD Fowler. Those look like they're mid-November, so it might be a little bit too far into the cold season, or if we get snow, we might not be able to replace those until it warms up. We are currently gearing up for winter with the snow equipment. We're getting everything chained up, going through fluids, filters. We have jetted a handful of sewer mains that were clogged in the past months. Been on a number of call outs due to water lines breaking, sewers getting plugged. We've dug out some ditch lines that were causing issues because of slope, and then the grass and other debris. So we basically went and cleaned those out so that they will flow correctly from now on. We're currently in the process of replacing the incandescent lights out at the airport with LED lights. So basically, there's a can where on the south side of the runway, There's cans, you take that can off, there's wires. It's basically like replacing a bolt inside your house, like if the actual socket were to go out, just taking it out and reconnecting the wires. The only difference is these are LEDs and not incandescent. And then we're also looking into possibly getting quotes on somebody to look at some of the wire for running it through the conduit, and then also redoing some of the boxes out there, because the waterproof boxes where everything ties together are no longer waterproof, and there's actually dirt and debris inside those boxes. So just kind of bringing things up to code. And then we're looking to regrout some manholes that have infiltration. We still have a lot of brick manholes, and those are famous for getting water penetration through them. So just going through and grouting that. I've also been looking for a waterproof spray where it kind of acts as a epoxy base after it hardens, where we can just line the inside of the manhole. So we're exploring that option. We've repaired a mainline water leak on Desire Street. That was a chore. Basically a lead lined, or it was a lead jointed pipe, and it was leaking on both sides. So we actually had to work with H.G. Fowler to get a joint seal stop, but we ended up ordering 2 gaskets so that we could seal both sides of that that joint. And then next thing is I've been working on implementing policies and procedures around safety. And then you might have noticed, well, this got brought up earlier. So the crack sealing. The crack sealing that we mostly did on the north side of town past 274, that was basically a stabilized roadway. And then Warren, Hinkle, and Park are the ones that we knocked out this time, and that's in preparation for the TID project. We still have a little bit to do. I just rented the machine and then a whole pallet. So that's what a pallet of that tar got us. And then next thing is I was talking to the company that I was interested in for what's called a package plant, or package sewer plant. It's also known as a MBR system. I gave them 4 of my DMRs, and then just to represent my high and low flows so that they could give me a roundabout estimate, and then also sent them a copy of my max accumulations for certain products in my permit, so that they know what we're allowed to go for, like, say, ammonia or BOD, TSS, stuff like that. So within about 2 weeks, they're going to be getting back to me on size of plant and what it would cost. And then from there, I can give that to Century West, and they can explore that as possibly a third option. And then they'll bring that hopefully in the next packet. Meters. So water meters, we've replaced all that we had on the shelf, except a few that I want to keep for backup, because in winter things like to break, especially around water. We currently have 169 manual read meters still in the system, and we have 242 radio read meters in the system. And so off of the meters that we've replaced just this year, I'm estimating that we have saved 2 hours per reading. based off of not having to go out to the actual box and lift the lid and read it. So every meter that we put in the ground that's a radio read, I know they're expensive and they're high tech, but it actually saves our overall cost because all we do is we put an antenna in the truck and you hook that thing up, press button, says start radio, and then you go around and it beeps, and all we do is drive around and it collects all the information for us. So cost saving there by 2 hours per month that we read, which is 6 months a year. Tomorrow through Thursday, I'll be going through a class for water distribution management exam prep. And then I'll take my test shortly after that. Then I'll be bouncing back to the sewer portion of that to then go for my class 2 certification. Jeff has been studying on spraying for weeds and mosquitoes, and we'll be taking those tests soon. And then my last thing is, as a friendly reminder, the burn piles are set up for limbs under 4 inches in diameter or less. If you go 4 inches or above 4 inches, then it takes longer for me to burn. And basically I have to call a number. The burn check number is what I call it, but it's a Department of Ecology. They tell me when I'm allowed to burn and when I'm not, and whether it's allowed to ash over or not. And I have to stick to those guidelines. So say if there's a bunch of rounds or something like that that I didn't see in there and didn't pick out of there, that pile is going to take like 6 hours to burn. And if ecology gives me 4 hours to burn, then that's not going to be sufficient. So if you're talking to people around town, just, say, hey, just a reminder, smaller limbs. And then also grass and leaves and other compostables, I would say. Those need to go in the back of the pile past the eco blocks. You can see all the grass and now a whole bunch of leaves because I dug out a bunch of leaves out of that pile and put them right where they're supposed to go. So any questions other than that?
Well, good luck on your test.
Thanks.
It's an impressive report, I have to say.
Thanks.
I love the seal, that crack seal, that's impressive.
Yeah.
And
They had a blast. It was quite interesting watching them do that because there were the 3 of them and it went really fast and it really worked out well that way. They had air, because they had to blow any debris out of the cracks, and then somebody was blowing them with the goop and somebody.
It works more efficient if you have 3 people because it's a tow behind trailer. So one person usually is driving, one person's blowing out the cracks with the air, and then the third person is actually going and sealing the cracks. So it's a lot more efficient. And then we basically just rotate. Like I get out of the truck, say, hey Jeff, you need to drive for whatever, and we'll just rotate positions so that not everybody's just stuck in their position. It works out pretty good.
question, how much is it? Are those pellet of tar, is that expensive?
I believe it's I want to say 2,200 for a pallet.
Yeah, it seems about right. Yeah.
But out of that pallet, we got Warren, Hinkle, and Park. So
That's great.
I think it was pretty efficient.
I've seen crummy sealing, that's something.
Yeah.
That was really good.
So the bird pile, you gonna try to burn any more this year? Try to get that down a little bit?
I'm trying to right now. It just depends on weather.
Yeah.
And then the Department of Ecology loves to put a restriction all winter long that says due to poor smoke ventilation.
Inversions, right?
Yeah, inversions, that we're not allowed to burn. But if I am, I'm gonna take that Ford tractor and basically just make a containment area around that big pile and light that thing off because that's kind of gotten out of hand.
Yeah, it has.
So I'm just gonna take a blade and make a buffer zone in between the grass and the pile.
Are we doing Are those browns, is there any restriction on what they can bring to that pile? I mean, you said browns and big limbs, are they not supposed to bring that stuff in?
Not necessarily. What I would ask is if somebody has a tree that they cut down that they want to remove, just don't stick the big rounds in the eco block areas. Just stick them out to the side where I can get them with backhoe. So if they're someplace that they're not supposed to be, just I'll pick them up, put them where they're supposed to go. That way also the community members that need firewood can just go over there, get rounds, load it up and take it. So I have no problem with them bringing it over there, just don't stick it in the eco bins, please.
So we don't have anybody to come in and chip it.
No, we haven't. We've kind of been wondering about that option, but I think it's very,
And that's spendy?
yeah, it's very spendy to do that option. Unless you know somebody with an industrial chipper,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Wow.
So Steve, you're saying that the leaves are supposed to go behind the blocks?
Yeah, so if there's one eco block pile in this one, I call them number 1 and 2. If you look at
Drive
the
around.
sign there, it says,
Did you see
Grass
all
and
those
leaves.
leaves in that one place?
yeah.
That was a me.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw another resident dumping the leaves in there today, so I just he already dumped half of the load, and I said, I'll take care of this one, but can you come over there
Yeah,
next
that
time?
was our fault. That was our fault.
It's okay.
Go out to where you think you're gonna get stuck, and that's where you need to put them.
Yeah, probably.
Stephen, how many years you worked for us?
I think it's 2.5. I
Yeah,
could
you
be
didn't
wrong.
even know what a DMR was, did you?
No, not at first. So the DMR used to be Donnell's purview, and then I took that away from Donnell in order to free up the deputy clerk's job. And so every report besides a few, I think, like we have a WUI report, a water use efficiency report, a DMR, the lead and copper inventory report was a huge one. And some other things are now being handled by the Public Works Department instead of the office, just to take that strain off of in there. So that, and it's better if the Public Works Department does it anyways, because we're the ones that are in the sewer and the water all day, so.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Great, thank you.
Yes.
That's great.
Mayor's report. So the grader went up to Spokane, I believe is on Wednesday. It's inoperable at this point. It kind of moves, kind of like a lot of old things, upon running and pushing, it will move. We had a technician come down for rolling machinery and worked on it for a day. Kind of got some things working a little better, but not really where we need it, or not even close to where we need it. So we had a local guy haul it up. It's been up and rolling since I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday. I was gonna try to get in touch with him today to find out if they've gotten into it or not, find out what's going on.
So what's wrong?
Before
What are
you-
we doing?
It won't move.
Oh.
Kind of slows the process down.
Motor starter? or just
Oh, no,
gear?
it'll start.
Just
It's
the gears?
going from, moving from front, going forward to backwards and stuff like that.
Before they start working on it, can you get an estimate and stuff first?
They have no idea. I mean, that's kind of why we had them come down here, because we were hoping that maybe it was gonna be something silly, stupid.
Sounds like it's in the clutch.
Well, they checked the transmission out, and it's fine, it goes pressure. They've done the stupid stuff first.
Yeah.
And they did some things like replace the spring on a linkage that helped a little bit. But now, we've had lots of
I was just
discussions.
wondering, before you put a bunch of money into that, maybe get an estimate and look for another used one, a
Well-
small one.
Yeah, I agree. But, used ones are 50 to 75,000,
Well, it depends on where you look.
and we use it about 30 hours a year.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to baby it through. Steve, we've already had this discussion, and let's find out what we know first. And I, we've had lots of discussions. I kind of hinted that maybe they could use our dealership up here if they needed to split it or if they needed to get into it, but that wasn't an option, so.
I understand where Dan's coming from.
He's got a question.
Yes, sir.
I was
Steven?
just
Oh,
making a statement. So one of the reasons why I went up there is because the dual axles in back, like you have forward, back, and forward, back, and then two in front. One of those complete sides needs to come off in order to access the part that they need to look at. So it's not something that they can do here. It's something that they have to do at the shop.
I will give a call tomorrow and we'll find out where they're at, and I'll try to make sure you guys are trying not to hit that triple digit number, it's at 100,000, so. I
That
understand.
makes me feel a lot better.
I mean, that was old 20 years ago when we bought it.
Yeah.
So,
But I understand what Dan's saying. It'd be good to have a maximum amount in evaluation, so we don't end up with a $10,000 bill and it's not any good. I mean, it doesn't take much. You can earn more than that. And same thing with Stephen, that heavy equipment, you can really run up a lot quickly. I mean,
Cars.
still have junk.
you can do that with cars too,
Yes, you can.
right? And at some point, you just fix it.
So what's the year on that? What's the year on that, Steve?
It's 85 because it's 1 year older than I am.
BC.
Easy, yeah, 'cause we've had it for well over 25 years.
Oh, yeah,
I remember buying that.
yeah, I can't remember if I was around for a long time, I can't say, but it looks pretty cool, but it looks like a grader, but it's got some age on it, so. I think that's about all I have to report on. Ma'am?
So, I think it was mentioned 1 or 2 meetings ago that we were applying for the grant for our periodic update, and so we did do that. That has gone through to Commerce, and we are expecting to hear back from them pretty quick, but we don't have any reason to think that we wouldn't get it, so it should be $10,000 this cycle, and then $10,000 in the next year cycle. And we're not required to do full planning, but the firm called Framework that was approved before thinks that they can do the critical areas ordinance planning for us, that update, and then they think that they could help us with some other areas that we need planning in, so I'm leaving that with you guys, because there are other areas the city could use help planning, like if you want to talk about housing or, other things that face our city. So just so you know, they thought that they could put some attention into, not a lot, but a few other things that were important to the city, so put that into that.
When would we have a discussion with them, or would they come and kind of present?
So, let's see, I think we have to have it done in 2027.
Okay, so we're probably done for.
Yeah, but that always goes really fast,
Mhm.
so. Probably if you start like talking to your constituents and amongst yourselves and have an idea by the end of the year of what you want to concentrate on, that would be a reasonable timeframe for them to just kind of look at that and give you some feedback about what they think they could accomplish with the things that you put before them.
And would the golf course be something that would fall under that?
That's what I was thinking.
Well, it's, because we haven't done full planning for a while, I really am not, I just don't have all the terms just handy in my head, for the different things that typically you do planning for. I mean, I know housing is one of them, but I don't know everything else. Transportation might be another one. But why don't I ask them and just say, since we're not doing a full plan.
It'd be good to ask them, find out, because, if we're gonna do the budget on the 12th, we can talk about that, so you have to kind of bring that up. and put that in on the budget thing. Maybe we have to set something aside.
Well, the planning is all in the grant,
Yeah.
right? So that would be,
So the idea was to be able to stretch our planning dollars in the grant as far as possible without going over
Over
it.
it.
Good potential.
Anything else, man? We're gonna start this way. Dave, Sean?
did, you get all the signatures and stuff you needed for Tony? Were we able to send? So,
I was just wondering if it's possible that the city could change their hours from 8 to 5, have, say, you start at 8 to 4 and Mickey starts at 9 to 5, just so somebody's here. I've had 2 constituents approach me this week just asking if there's any way that the city could stay open a little longer because they don't get home until 4:30.
Normally I am here till 5 and I always serve people who come to the door. There are some times when one of us is running samples and the other one's gone to the bank. So there's always gonna be times when there's not
Because they've
somebody
stopped by,
here
they've stopped
occasionally.
by and it's been locked up.
I spoke to somebody this last week too.
It wasn't Wendy,
Oh.
it wasn't Wendy, this is 2 other people.
Nonetheless,
Okay.
100% of the time, we're not always gonna be here, but I mean, we're essentially open anyway.
Okay.
Because I always answer the door. It just gives us the ability that if we need to do things, we try to do them after 4.
Okay, and then
So,
I just wanted to bring up that, I'm disappointed with Tekoa. Back in August, I received a Get Well card. And I turned it over to the postal inspectors. And I found out this week that there were 4 other people in town that received similar cards. And, you know, if you have a problem with a person, go to that person. But by golly, don't send stupid cards. It just shows your age. You're really immature. And I'm speaking to the person because I have an idea who that person is.
Threatening cards, you think that's?
Yes, harassment. And I've been harassed. I've been harassed about my dogs. I've been harassed about my son. I mean, it gets old. My dogs have been contained. They have not been running around. I put an end to that.
Okay, all right.
But as far as the cards are concerned, no more.
Okay, Pete?
Okay, dealing with the signboards, we're working on those. What's holding me up is the person that's supposed to get me the pictures, the appropriate pictures, so they can get them sealed in plastic. That's holding me up because they haven't been available. But I'm working on it, so I haven't forgotten them. I'm getting them, so it doesn't look like much has been done, but once I have those, then I can finish the project. And for the holidays, we'll see. But you gotta get those and then sealed and then put together. So it's there and it's taken forever but the city did their job getting all those up. I appreciate that.
Okay. Danny? Marge?
I'm just gonna volunteer because the leaves have been an issue. I mean, the rain and the leaves fell both at the same time. So I mean, there's no way to rake them or, if you rake them, you gotta haul them off. And so then I sort of drove around town and there's places where their leaves are there. I mean, we have a pickup, so we can haul them and we'll take them to the right place now, Stephen. But, a lot of people don't have pickups, so their yards are just plastered with leaves. I guess what I'm gonna suggest, and I would volunteer to do that, if they could want to even rake them up and put them in plastic bags, we could come and get them for them. And can they go on the burn pile if they're in the bags? They have to come out of the bag? Okay.
Yeah, because you'll get in
Yeah,
trouble.
that's why I asked, I knew that. But anyway, I just thought, this is kind of an unusual year. Usually you're able to burn and get rid of most of them, but we could not burn one. And we hauled a lot of leaves off, and I just thought I know John doesn't know this yet, but we would do that, volunteer to come and pick up your leaves for you.
You know, I believe Coeur d'Alene's got a system where they rake to the road and they've got a vacuum that comes and sucks
So
them out.
Southfield, Spokane has one too.
Spokane's got
Yeah,
that.
up on Southfield.
I mean, I don't wanna rake the leaves, I've already raked mine, but.
Well, maybe a good wind will come up and they can refill your lawn. Okay, Mike?
Couple of things. First of all, the fraud training last week was really super. They concentrated a lot on cybersecurity, which is really up and coming, and I got some really great information on that. They went through how to look at a check register and how to identify fraud in that. They looked at how to identify fraud in credit card statements and receipts and some other stuff, and I've gotten several handouts. So it really refreshed my memory on what I used to do, but it was super training and it's just gonna make me do my job better. So, and then financial reports, I'm sorry, I'm a little tardy on that, but the last page in your handout, if you're interested.
We're always interested.
If you look on the average, we've received 84% or 84.9% of budgeted revenue, and we've only spent on the average of 48.3. So we're doing well. A couple of instances, like the cemetery department, we budgeted conservatively for 87,000, and we actually received 130,000 plus. So our budgeted income is 148. We have not spent a lot. We're down at 54,924 for what we spent. So we still have money there available to pay for wages and people working out there. The airport funding, we budgeted for 76,000. We've received 70. We're still waiting for some of that to come in. Same with the DOT airport grant. 693,235 is what we budgeted for. We've received 213,753, and the rest will be forthcoming. Some of it we still have to send them the statements and they'll pay us. On the DOE, what is it, WWTP planning and grant loan, we budgeted for 146,000. We've received 103, and we're waiting for reimbursement. So as soon as the reimbursement comes through, that'll be at 100%. Overall, we're doing pretty good. Our surplus this year so far, we're up at like $1,500,090, so that's a good thing. But I think we're gonna actually end up spending less than we budgeted for this year, so. There may be some changes in that, and maybe Elijah can speak to that better, but I see nothing but good things so far.
So Mike, on the street and roads, isn't there $50,000 or something sitting somewhere that we didn't use?
If you look down just a few to line item 114, street levy fund, there's $50,000 budget.
Okay.
And that is heavily dependent on the property tax cycle, so like we'll get another big chunk here in November. So it'll come out at 100%, and then you can see where none of that's been spent this year because that's been held over projects for next year.
So what's the difference between the projects that fund takes care of versus 104, the streets and roads?
So that is just typical repairs and maintenance, wages, all of the things normally associated with the fund. The street levy fund is for specific projects that you guys approve, and that's like our transportation plan.
Okay.
So those were the 50,000 from this year. Next year it'll say 100,000 budgeted, so that we can carry that over from this year to next year.
Okay, so it's not like when we're not spending that, nothing's getting done on the roads. It's just the special projects aren't.
Right.
But we're
That's
doing
right.
all the- Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Approval vouchers. Bills? I say that so well too. All right, that's one part I get right. Okay, there's no need to go to executive session. At this point, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Sorry.
Opposed? Oh, yes.
Sorry, I didn't know what I was supposed to ask. I was, wasn't on the docket, but I was told that I could come in and ask about renting the community center.
I could pose that, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Would it be all right if she came up?
Sure.
Sure.
Certainly,
Sorry
yes.
about that. I
Yes.
just,
You-
I'm ready to
you-
read how it all. how it all goes
You've been
on.
very patient.
there was the.
You've served your penance.
Okay.
Sure, get on it. So basically, I was talking to Elijah about the community center and the cost of it, and she mentioned that I could come and I could put it in front of you guys and see if I could get the nonprofit rate for teaching an herbal class there. If that's something, do you guys need any more information? Sorry, my brain's a little fried right now.
You know, I think when when Whitney came and she was doing her yoga, she brought something in on paper for us, just kind of like what it was about and,
Okay.
you know, like, I think what she was charging people and why she, and kind of a written ask of why she wanted to get that rate. And, you know, and so if it's not truly a nonprofit, you just need to make a good pitch for it as to why. And then I don't know if we offer a nonprofit.
Well, that's what we did for several different classes that have taken place there, so we have a precedent of doing that. When were you looking to do your class?
I'm still in the process of getting like everything set up, so this
Okay.
was one piece that I was trying to find, because I'm gonna be eventually doing it out of my home, but I'm doing remodeling in the area that I'm gonna be, and so I wanted to get started sooner, just because, I mean, it's such a beneficial thing, because it just empowers the community, like there's so many medicinal plants, like just thriving around, you know, town, and so I was just, I don't know, I'm kind of starting to be like antsy at teaching it, and like I keep learning more, and I just want to share it.
So would the next meeting on the 17th be an ample time for you to get that approval if you brought that in 2 weeks?
To get, so what exactly?
If you were to come in with something for the council, like on paper,
Oh, yeah.
in 2 weeks is the next meeting, I'm just wanting to make sure that's
Yes.
How many days a week, you know, we have, you know, what kind of.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let me ask you this, have you inquired with the library to see if that would tag on with something they maybe can do?
I plan to actually talk to the library, and I was thinking it'd be cool for the school too, because I want to extend it to like children in the community as well, because helping them learn, you know, different things like that. Because I also, like, I did a lot of environmental education, and I was military, and I learned a lot of like SEER stuff. So, and I started teaching kids when I was getting my degree, and it was amazing to watch how they get with plants and nature and everything. So
I don't want to
It's-
discourage you from, you know, from the community center, but
yeah,
you know, that
absolutely.
might be a nice step, you know,
Right,
until you
right.
outgrow it, but.
Yeah.
So is this an ongoing class, like you teach it regularly?
Yeah, I want to. It's so new. Like I'm just like, you know, like I said, I'm military, so like I was trying to figure out like what is going to be good for me to do, and then I finished like my degrees and everything, and I basically like I don't have like I'll be able to get something, but it's going to be so flexible. Like I don't know 100% if it's going to be, because you have to test things, and I might have to change it a little bit, like depending on people's wants and needs. So I don't want to like fix something and then force people to be coming to classes that aren't even benefiting them. I really want to go off of like when people start coming in and being able to get like their feedback, and then be like, oh, I might have to shift this completely because people are wanting more of this. People are wanting more, you know, like topical stuff versus like us doing like this and more, I don't know, like tea ceremonies, having tea parties, you know, like I think that'd be awesome. But yeah, so
Great.
I can come in and get, like I said, it would be just like my first plan forward that I'm gonna have, but it is definitely going to be fluid, and it's gonna modify throughout time. Yes, I can do that, for sure.
Great idea.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we still got a motion on the floor. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Never opposed.
Good.